Okay, I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves. Everybody in the room probably knows who they are, but like, I like the panel to introduce them and talk about their mobile credentials in one sentence, right? So, KP, you shoot.
Great. Hi everyone, Krishan Patel from Amobee. We're a digital marketing platform business acquired by Singtel in 2012 and part of the group Digital Life.
Hi, I'm Regina Go. I work for Blis. I'm the MD for Asia for Blis. Obviously, if people know Blis, we are a location-focused company. We focus on location tech and location data, and mobile is a big part of what we do.
Hi, my name is Janice Chan. I work for Starwood Hotels Asia Pacific, and I'm the only brand on the panel.
Yay!
And so I'm the only one who's clueless. My mobile credentials is we have an SPG app. So those of you who are SPG members might know that. And we also dabble in things like keyless entry and mobile advertising from time to time.
Hi, my name is Vikas, Gulati. I run the Asia Pacific business for Opera Mediaworks. We're one of the largest mobile ad tech companies in the world with about 1 billion plus consumers, 20,000 plus publishers. We work with some of the largest brands on the planet.
Thank you very much. So this is a panel about mobile, but I was at Paris this year, and we did this panel at the end of the day, and I just got really angry because the conversation was the same conversation we've been having about mobile for the last 8 years. And it just annoyed me immensely. So I just flipped it on its head and said, what's going wrong with mobile? Because, you know, the economics of mobile for publishers just isn't there, right? There's all these people using mobile devices, and there's no spend coming through. That's a truth across the entire globe. Here, UK, US, everywhere else. So my question is, why are we still waiting for the year of the mobile? Yes, I said it. KP, why are we not spending loads of money on mobile?
Well, I think we are. I think mobile's growing. I think...
outside of Facebook.
Outside of Facebook. Well, who knows, man? The numbers get mixed up, right? Like, is the Facebook number in the social number? Is a Facebook number in the mobile number? So I think, yes, it's growing. Facebook is a large component of that. I think the lack of data and the lack of transparency when it comes to buying is a problem. And also, I think we talk about mobile in ad tech as being programmatic, and actually it's far more broad and immersive than just programmatic, right? I don't believe talking about mobile as a channel like that is actually capturing all of the innovation and great work which is going on. I'm talking about the creative work done on mobile. I'm talking about data-centric buying outside of like omni-channel DSPs like we've heard. Unfortunately, desktop and display DSPs approach the conversation very much like it's another format or it's another targeting type, and I think that's incorrect. And I think we need to change the story from mobile being a format within an omnichannel DSP to mobile being an actual channel you can invest in from front to end.
But agencies don't think like that. Right? I mean, agencies are not putting money into mobile, right? There's a lot of money going into Facebook, but there's nobody buying mobile the way they buy desktop.
The Airwave guys are here. I mean, Omnicom Airwave guys are here. The Dentsu Engine guys in Australia. There's a lot of great work being done by agency groups. I mean, you know, Group M didn't do it, but they probably should have.
Another conversation for another day. Regina.
Well, I worked for 3 mobile companies over the last 6 years. Most of them all of them are actually mobile advertising, so they pay my bills for the last 3 years. I would say definitely I've seen the growth. It's definitely, I think the question is more whether it's enough to have them see the lift they're expecting for the medium to deliver. One of the things that was actually very interesting, I was looking back, and I was just telling the panel that we need to remember it is the 8th year of mobile. But when app ecosystem first come along, it was 9 years ago when Apple first launched the phone. So that's when app ecosystem start to happen, and a year later you start to see Android. Well, 3 years later you start to see Android impressions start to take over. That became the mass. Now we are actually still a pretty young industry, but these people who actually have their first phone in the hand today, which is the majority of the TG, which is 25 to 35 years old, had their first phone 10 years ago. They were 16 when they first got their first phone. The way we engage with them as marketeers is fundamentally changed. the way how we used to buy media. So I think there is, on top of what Krishan has said about data, I think that's the science part of it, the targeting, the pieces of technology, the complication that, every tech is sophisticated. There's also the creative part of it, which is the art of it. I think the buyer side hasn't really caught up with how to actually deal with this change of dynamics in how the new TG, the millennials, are actually looking at their phone and engage with it. So I think from a human side and from a tech side, we need to address it together, and it's not going to solve it by itself alone.
Janice, you're not clueless, by the way. You're a very, very sophisticated marketer, by the way. She's a very sophisticated marketer. Let's talk about how you see mobile. Do you think that the media agencies you work with or the sort of third parties are executing properly across mobile? I mean, do you think there's still a few things that we need to sort out, like formats or targeting or even attribution? Is that something that you think there's some issues there?
I think there are major issues, and unfortunately, agencies aren't always the ones that are coming up with the solutions to clients. And I always do this in public forums, dissing agencies. But there are a lot of problems. It's really complicated for brands. We are just grappling with, we just figured out what online marketing is, and then now we have to figure out a whole new channel. And we're how do you to make it simple for brands to understand how do you get onto mobile? Then we're taking what we traditional brands know as above the media metrics and the way we do advertising to put it online, and now translate that into mobile. So that's just getting our heads around that whole issue is very complicated, and there are lots of solutions. Those solutions don't talk to each other. They don't, so therefore, if I need to measure cross-device, I have to put 10 different SDKs into my app to make it work, and that's just not. And then maybe you can work with someone like you can do a Kachava, which works with various different. And then there's another SDK you have to convince the mobile team to add to the app. And then at the end of the day, it's just easier to work with Facebook.
See, Vikas, this is what I'm talking about. This woman is talking the truth. She's got the money, right? And I'm telling you, I bought on Facebook. You buy the desktop, you get a little ad for mobile, and there's loads of clicks, right? So why would you put 10 SDKs in an app, right, to measure a few feckin' clicks that don't make any difference anyway? So, Vikas, tell me what's going on here. Tell me a story to make me happy about this.
Okay. That's a good point, Janice. Okay. So, first of all, just to answer the first point, whether mobile is growing, I think it's growing. It's growing thick and fast. I think if you look at as an industry, we did about $15 billion in 2015. It's projected to grow to about $70 billion. The numbers are definitely coming in. And like Janice talked about, she has an app. Like if I was to ask you one specific question, how much of your business comes out of mobile?
All right, so right now of our digital revenue, almost 40%, more than 40% comes from mobile.
Yeah, that's the point. And I'm sure there are many marketers out here who have opened up their eyes to the power of mobile marketing. So it's already happening. Now, obviously, as an industry, it's still about 4 or 5 years old. And I think we could have definitely done a better job in terms of simplifying things for the brand marketers. And some of the things like attribution, measurement could have been better addressed. But the fact of the matter is, as an industry, when you're just 5 years into the being, the entire app ecosystem is growing so fast that you have different kinds of technologies which are coming in. We've just seen probably just tip of the iceberg what mobile can do. In reality, the kind of creative stuff that Krishan was talking about, it's absolutely fascinating 4 years into the being. You're trying to compare that medium to TV, to print, which are like decade old, century old, right? 5 years, $15 billion, going to $30 billion next year, it's awesome. So I'm all positive about the future of mobile advertising.
I'm completely... These numbers are just Facebook and Google, right? I'm telling you.
So I don't know whether you looked at the Opera.
No, Opera is an exception to the rule.
$700 million in revenue. That's what our guidance this year is. Last year we did about 615. We grew 43%.
Look,
Q1.
Opera is definitely an exception to the rule, and everybody in this room knows that. And that's why you were bought by a bunch of Chinese, because they know they're worth a lot of money.
If you've got a great product, great technology, if you're doing the right things, you're servicing the businesses right, you're servicing your customers well, there is no reason why any mobile advertising company should not be growing today.
Okay. Krishan, let's talk about ad tech, right? Particularly in mobile, I just think they have it all wrong. I mean, like, properly wrong. I think the approach to mobile is so wrong. I mean, Opera's the exception, and we'll get back to what they're doing, but there is certain companies who are just trying to graft a desktop model onto mobile, right? And they think that an MPU on a bloody web page is going to make much of a difference. Now, I'm seeing interruptive pop-up ads on mobile. There's a reason why ad blockers are being installed by people, because it's just a horrible experience. So do you think that as an industry, we need to start thinking about mobile in a completely different way? And we need to think about it from a user perspective.
So I think there's a big opportunity for a value exchange to take place between the user and the brand, and the user, the brand, and the carrier, for example. So one of the biggest innovations that we've seen coming out of the last 6 months is lock screen. That is a perfect innovation to allow the customer some sort of value for opting into advertising, and the brand a first touch opportunity to be in front of that consumer. Now, if we can think about more of these things, I mean, King's Reward is another one.
I love King's. I actually have to say, King's Reward video is genius. It is absolute genius, because I actually played some of their games, and I have watched lots of Nestle ads.
Right.
Dancing cereals,
No, they're great.
Things, Cheerios.
They're great.
Yeah.
So if we get more of that, we're kind of then realizing the promise that mobile is built for versus the other channels, because actually you can achieve all of this across mobile, whereas you can't really do that across desktop or video.
So, Regina, I'm not. You've got interesting technology. You're not one of the. You're one of the good guys, obviously, in ad tech, right? But do you think that the industry needs to have more innovative look at what they do around mobile, particularly around the user experience?
I think we need to get creative, more creative than where we are now. There's no lack of innovation. There's just so much different pieces of innovation that doesn't speak to each other. I don't think we're piecing the technology well enough. The company itself, a lot of what I've actually been through over the last 6 years working for 3 different mobile advertising companies, that I do realize that we build a lot of the sell to advertisers based on a lot of quick wins, right? We're seeing so much impression that's coming through mobile, and we're saying, hey, let's build the SDK to go extract this information. We're not actually going a step further by saying, where are we going to store this data? How are we going to ensure the cleanliness of this data? There are many, many companies that built, mobile, hence the impact the last 8 years, and most part of it is last 6 years of my career, it's been building based on quick wins and patchwork. And obviously the other angle is that, I'm generalizing here, of course. The other angle is that the technology hasn't evolved to where it is today. So a lot of things we can do now, today, wouldn't exist before. So, I'll just use the company at Blis as an example. The focus is not so much about inventing something new. We're just piecing, we're looking into the ecosystem and all the impression that's coming through with location data. We're actually verifying those impressions if they're actually, mean what they say they are, before we go and segment this audience. We're trying to piece the technology that's already existent for a long time to make it better, so that by the time we segment the audience using location behavioral data, it's actually an audience that's more accurate, and then we find a way to scale it. But
who's measuring that? Who's actually verifying and measuring that?
So this is a proprietary technology. So I think a lot of it will be coming back to, if we are delivering results to the clients, right? That the client is seeing devices are actually coming through that, through their store. So there's measurement, the attribution we are actually creating for that. But what I'm saying is that, a lot of people in the market over the last couple of years has been looking into leveraging on, building more revenue on mobile, but if we are really doing a good job in trying to build technology that is sound and solid, and then with kind of layering on top, so more innovation is not necessarily helpful. Perhaps we actually need to take a step back and really try to piece what we know already together.
Well, I was thinking more lateral thinking rather than a whole new sort of thing. Like, Janice, it'd be interesting what do you think? I mean, your users are important, your perception, your brand's important, so the user experience should be first and foremost in the mobile experience, then, clearly.
It is, but it's really expensive to create all these different types of experiences. And there are, there are some really interesting things, especially with mobile experience, swiping and using the device. But that only can work on one channel. And for a brand with limited budgets, we can't spend all of our budgets on production. So I think it's could be also, and so what we're looking at is, well, how can we take that one campaign idea and just spread it across multiple channels, which I think these guys will agree.
You want scale, basically. But, I mean, I'd like to know what Opera's doing here, because obviously you're making lots of money. I mean, what are you doing different in the space? I mean, clearly not serving banners and skyscrapers all the time. I mean,
absolutely, yeah. We talked about mobile spending itself, and I think one of the fundamental, we could have done a lot better as an industry if the focus was to bring the user experience right at the center, building specific creatives which are, so you got to, at the heart of it, mobile is a very, very different screen. It's a much smaller real estate. Your conventional online kind of a model, same banners are not going to work. And you've got users telling you that it's not really working. So you got to think about something which is absolutely in line with the user experience. We've done a whole lot of work with our clients in trying to we launched our Opera House initiative, for example, last year, which talked about building special purpose creatives, for mobile first screens itself. Like, we talked about in-feed environments, what kind of mobile creatives should go into there. If you look at the Opera browsers, which is our own property, the whole lot of content that gets served, it's all 100% native. So I think the focus has always needs to be brought back to the user experience itself. And the more we lean towards that as an industry, I think it's going to work in everyone's favor. And by the way, your point about it costs millions of dollars, whatever, for creative, we do that for our clients all the time, and that entire initiative. And it's not us. I would say most of the service providers today are, just because agencies have not been geared up for that piece, are offering creative solutions to clients to cover up for that piece. So there's definitely technology available.
Yeah.
There's definitely creative solutions
And I
available.
think customer experience and personalization lies at the heart of what all brands are trying to do right now. And they've invested in customer experience officers who are focused on it, who kind of bridge between the CIO, the CTO, and the CMO. And I think, going back to the points that these guys raised on the previous panel, it does need some education on that side to go in and talk about sales and service, and to go in to talk about metrics that these guys can define, and a data management approach that you can build from day one and take it to day 50. You have to start somewhere. It can't just be like, oh, it's too expensive, we're not going to do it, or my agency's shit. It's got to be like, we need to start here with the assets that we have and build on it.
The biggest mistake, sorry if I was just add to a point, the biggest mistake marketers end up doing is what they have built for TV or for the online world, they just try and replicate the same assets on mobile. It just doesn't work that way. In online, you're running 2-minute commercials on YouTube and other things out there. It just, mobile is a snacky medium. People will come in and...
But you could repurpose the video for a vertical video experience, clearly. I mean, there is...
But I think repurpose is not a right word. You have to start with the ideation and the strategy with the heart of where you think the content can expand and then scale through different platforms. 87% of the millennial today, I'm talking about mainly millennials because it's majority of what a lot of advertisers are targeting, across device. So you can't build for one platform and hopefully readapt, because it doesn't work that way. Mobile offer a platform to allow us to tell a story better, create an immersive experience with a shake, a swipe, a gyroscope. If you're a car, you can actually provide a 360 view, and none of these other devices offer. And if you don't build that with the strategy in the heart of it, you're actually missing out a lot.
Yeah. So custom-built creatives is a
hold
given.
on. Now, I'm all about customization, right? But I'm a practical man, right? I'm a practical man. I'm about scale, right? And when in desktop, you had a post-view CPA metric, right? You see the ad, you cookie bomb that user, and it gets allocated to the sale, right? That was the bread and butter of every single agency globally, right? You can't make that work on mobile. So how do we change? How do we get a uniform metric and an ad unit that would bring money into the space? I mean, Look, I think widgets and little rich media ads of flying boards and cans of beer is fantastic. But Janice is right. You can't scale that. That's not practical. That's
true.
not a
It's
practical
scalable.
solution.
Totally scalable. There's so much HTML5 inventory out there today is waiting to be inspired.
In a way, I would also agree with what he's trying to get at. But when it comes to mobile and literally, again, putting the user experience into center, there's so many other stuff that you're doing. Mobile has this whole concept of value exchange, rewarded videos. You got vertical videos, which is actually just repurposing. But you're aligning the entire experience to how the natural feel of how the users use mobile, right? And I don't think so marketers are doing enough in that space. And agencies are also just not geared up. Like nobody's thinking really about creatives. Even if the assets that they hold, they are not actually maximizing it.
Listen, that's a rabbit hole. We're not even going to go down. Hey, creatives and programmatic. I'll stay away from that. Let's talk about location-based targeting because I actually think that's quite interesting, right? For one, because it seems to me that there could be an interesting piece here, right? We talked about the CPA cost per view, right? Or basic post-view metric, right? Yeah. And the case is, how do I know if an ad was served on a mobile that affected the user, right? But with location-based targeting, let's say a BMW ad is served on an in-app, and 2 days later I go to a showroom, that can be allocated to that particular spend. That could be a big area of growth for the area.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're referring to the attribution part of it.
Yeah,
and that's
definitely the attribution part, yes.
Exactly. I think it's actually bringing matrix beyond CTR today. And then finally, we, as a, the industry has caught up to be able to offer a client other than CTR. So there is what we call a foot-through rate. We can measure if device has been exposed to an ad, whether they go into store, and we can see the device in store. Obviously, there's prerequisite that have to be browsing. But with telco data, let's say we partner with Singtel, if we use Wi-Fi, we can actually see the devices without ever looking at the phone. It's been done in the UK. Just saying, right? I mean, it's just about data partnership. But the true potential of location is not just lying into location, the real-time location targeting. It is about the location data that comes with it, the behavioral cycle of it. The way we have been buying advertising has been, not saying it's wrong, it's just the way it was, and it is to look at the content sites they're browsing, the apps they're in. That shows interest. If I can tell you, I will show an ad to people who have seen, if you are, BMW, I show you an ad, they have been in the BMW store over the last 3 weeks, and also been to Audi, and this is actual value of purchase intent type of audience that location data bring on. So I think you need to think about the data and the potential of data that comes with it, that segment a very accurate audience that brand's looking for, and also the attribution of it. And the potential is huge. So
I think if I was a marketer now, right, and I said, Regina, I'm going to give you 2 million quid for spend, right? And if I can see that user came in off the back of that spend, I'd give you more money, right? Yeah. The problem with mobile for me is there is no direct ROI, right? There's a sheer measurement issue, and that's a big black spot really it's going to be
Can
an
I
issue.
address that?
Go ahead. Sorry.
I would say the attribution and the measurement piece has really evolved in last year and a half, 2 years now. You look at a whole lot of businesses today. There are e-commerce companies, mobile-first companies whose entire business is actually built on mobile. And they're running all the way end-to-end campaigns out there. So, we've done so much of work with clients, and I'm sure there are clients who are doing this even outside, which even talk about CPG as a category. We know that top-of-mind brand awareness, retail intent, favorability, those are the metrics that really impact the purchase. Who says that can't be measured on mobile? Like you do campaigns, you partner with the research agencies. There are different ways to even get down to measuring on, you talked about footfall attribution, you talked about, so all kind of measurements and attribution is coming into play right now. I think it's just the mindset of some of the advertisers. Market needs a little more sophistication today. So that they open up their eyes and start looking at the stuff which is going around.
Yeah, I think there's a point to be made about location data. The data quality of location data right now is poor, right? It's like lat long and a little bit of probabilistic stuff. There are, and the trader talk that Imran did around explaining centroids and rehashed lat long, like I don't believe that there is anybody in the market at the moment providing clean location data, and they're all marking their own homework. So it's
I'm
like,
sitting right beside you.
well, I'm saying, like, Roy Morgan studies in Australia that prove that campaigns were served in Tasmania when actually they were targeting the CBD of Sydney. So I don't believe that anybody's doing it to the level we need it to be to excel spends in this area. Yeah. And I believe that if you hold deterministic identity, so you hold the billing relationship, you have browsing URL history, and you have location data, you can combine that to make a really good product and actually drive actual valid, explicit data in the market.
Janice, the measurement thing, is that a big thing for you in terms of like, I'll get to Janice first and I'll go back to you, Gina. But I'm just talking about, is that a big issue for you? If you could see that I spend this amount of money in mobile and I'm getting this back, you'll spend more, clearly.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's easiest for travel because we can measure the conversion and the revenues directly because the purchases are made on in-app or online. There is a huge challenge with cross-device measurement, and for example, for us, where travel, we understand that people are browsing on mobile, but rather convert on another device, a tablet or a desktop, and and I'm having challenges convincing, whereas we're measuring our agencies on performance of the campaigns, and they are refusing to allow us to spend more on mobile because we can't measure the success of the campaigns. So yes, if we could measure it, and then we're putting in tools like Kochava and our apps, etc., to close that loop using Facebook to measure this, to get cross-device data. But I think we're quite far from there.
Regina, just you want to respond to KP, didn't you?
Yeah, I kind of feel like
Course,
I need to respond to that. But look, Krishan, I think it's your mindset and your perception is absolutely the very thing that we try to change every day. Yeah. I think I really don't blame that perception, whether it's you or people in the room, because back to my point earlier is that the way we've been building this industry has been based on a lot of quick wins. It's also based on a lot of what technology couldn't do before. Blis has been around for 11 years, way before I came into the job. But I think one of the things that is possible right now is being actually implemented at scale. And what we have been seeing and waking up and go to sleep every day is to ensure that the cleanliness of data. We see about 20% of total impression comes through location data. By the time we cleanse it, we're left with about 20% of the 20%. That's really, really small accuracy of what we're doing. We then went and invent another technology that brings back scale using IP scale. Not trying to sell the technology here, but what I'm trying to say is that it is possible today with technology to allow us to be able to achieve those accuracy and to hopefully bring back scale. But the most important thing here is that we need to bring the education level up. We need to help you guys to ask the right questions and challenge and say, if you are doing location data, what I was told before wasn't possible, how are you doing? What methodology are you using? Advertisers need to start asking qualifying questions, and we're more than happy to, help to, hopefully win the trust. So that's kind of like.
Okay, we've got a couple of minutes left. I want to finish on. Look, these are all very valid points, right? But I still think that ad tech is not thinking about mobile the way it should, right? So I'm going to finish this conversation off to talk about my idea, right, around emojis. Now, a couple of months ago, I came up with this idea about an emoji ad network, right? Aggregating emotional emoji use, and then building a segmentation of emotions in a DMP, and then retarget them. It's called emotional retargeting, right? I came up with that idea in a Japanese bar at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? Thinking about mobile, right? Me, right? Now, I'm not VC backed. If there's any VCs in the audience, I'll take some money off you. But I'm just saying that was just one thought process. I mean, there are so much VC-backed companies in the space that surely we need to start thinking about these new channels, these new innovations within mobile, and being able to sort of monetize them in a user-centric, user-friendly way. KP, what do you think of my idea?
I'm not an expert on emojis or anything, but
Smiley face.
Smiley faces. But I do think that another inflection point will come when like people like WeChat and Line sort out their international offerings as well. And in those markets, emojis, I imagine they're used quite a lot, right? So that's where you got your idea from.
I did steal it from a Japanese guy, so that's not really my original idea. But Regina, I mean, look. I know that you guys are doing some interesting stuff on location-based stuff, and that's a huge area. But there seems to be disconnect in the rest of the industry, particularly around how publishers are monetizing their inventory.
Monetizing whose inventory?
Publishers monetizing their own inventory, like so. The third-party ad tech they use, it's not adding a lot of value in many ways.
Sorry, what's the question?
The question is, I don't know what the question is actually. I'm just running in my head.
Sorry, it's time for drinks.
Yeah. On that note, I thought the emoji ad network idea was a brilliant idea.
I thought it's a Snapchat on steroid. Oh no, sorry, emoji on steroid is Snapchat. Is that right? No.
Is that a new idea? Let's talk about it at the bar.
Let's take it offline.
So I want to thank our last panel day, because it is literally a tough slog to come on here at the end of the day. And in fairness, this mobile issue needs to be discussed properly. There's so much opportunity in mobile. Facebook and Google have not won the war. The kids will start abandoning Facebook. They will fall on their arses eventually, right? And that's the opportunity for the rest of the people in this room to make some money. So that's the reason we're getting angry about mobile, because there's such a huge greenfield opportunity. And I want to thank our panelists. A round of applause, please.